Let's fill out our all-star ballots here. The starters are set. In the East, we have Hallie, Dame, Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. And in the West, we have SGA, Luka, LeBron, KD, and Jokic. Not a ton of shocks there. A little bit surprising to see Steph left off, even though I don't think that he deserved it. I thought the fan vote would get him there, but I'm very, very happy to see SGA instead because he absolutely deserves it more. And, of course, LeBron got the fan vote. Dame, I think, generated the most outrage. I would not have had him as a starter in the East. But who do you have as your East reserve locks, Logan? Like, who are the guys who you think absolutely have to be there? And then we'll get into some of the more toss-up situations.
My locks are Jalen Brunson. Think he has to be here. I would have had him as a starter. Donovan
agreed.
Mitchell, lock. Think has to be here.
By the way, also should have been a starter over Dame if someone was going to be having a better season.
And then I got two more guards. I mean, I think Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young are locks for me too. I'm not going to disrespect what Trae Young's been doing this season. And Maxey's been playing awesome basketball too. The next front court spots are what's up in the air for me. The next lock and the only other lock, the other two front court spots are real toss-ups for me is Bam Adebayo because I think he's still one of the best defenders on the planet, if not the best overall defender on the planet. The other two, you want me to spoil them or do you want to get into that?
Well, let's just quickly go through my locks as well because I agree. The two wild card spots are going to guards. The level of guard play in the East is just on another level from what we're seeing in the front court. Brunson, of course, is a lock. Number one option on a damn good team. Phenomenally efficient offensive engine. Mitchell, 28-6 on 58% true shooting, plus 11 on-off. Lock. And then, Trae, you can say what you want about the Hawks team success. This isn't the best Trae season necessarily in terms of shot making, but he's giving you 27 and 11 on 58% true shooting. It would be completely unprecedented to deny a player with that sort of production and overall offensive impact. And then Maxey, even though he's struggled in the non-Embiid stretches, overall he's still 26-7 on 58% true shooting, plus 11 on-off for a team that's really quite good. Those might be my only four locks. There's a guy in the front court who I certainly am most confident in, who may actually be controversial. It's not Bam Adebayo. For me, it's Kristaps Porzingis, actually. But give me the rest of your front court out East.
Yeah, I only have two more spots, and one of them I've given to Kristaps Porzingis. That was my lock. He's missed 14 games, but when you look at what he's done on the court, I mean, I just think he's the more valuable piece. And then I gave the last spot to Jaylen Brown. I'm going to be honest. I mean, I was debating Paolo, I was debating Scotty, I was debating Julius Randle for these final spots. Julius Randle is an inherently flawed basketball player. So what did I do with him? I tossed him to the side. I'm sorry, Julius. I know you. I know Julius Randle a little too well. I've watched him enough. I don't think he's an all-star. Paolo.
Take the cop out. Take the cop out for Randle that he's hurt.
Oh, he's injured. He's injured. It's all about the shoulder. It was all about the injury.
Couldn't play anyways.
Couldn't play. So that's why I tossed him out. I wanted to give it to my boy Scotty Barnes. I think he has made genuine leaps, genuine improvements. He's just not the caliber of offensive player that I think is deserving to get there. Paolo, growing pains, young player, good team. It's about the team success and how you're driving team success to me. Scotty and Paolo don't move the needle for me, and so a bit of a cop-out answer here. I gave it to the two guys on the best team in the East, and so I gave the Celtics 3 All-Stars. If you want to give it to Paolo, if you want to give it to Scotty, if you want to give it to Julius, I have no quabbles with you, but I gave it to JB and I gave it to Kristaps. What's the word? It's not quabbles. It's something. Qualms. There
or perhaps you could say I quibble with that, but you created some sort of Harry Potter dish, it sounds like.
We're finna play some Quidditch and go quabble.
Going quabbling after this. Yeah, we have the exact same team out East. So Porzingis, I do think, is one who may stand out to some people just because he doesn't necessarily have the raw numbers. I think he's a no-brainer because of his contribution to winning. He is giving you 19, 7, and 2 on 66% true shooting, the most efficient scorer in basketball at that volume, and is filling a void this Celtics team has had perfectly. He is a dominant mismatch attacker. He's averaging 1.4 points per post-up, Logan. he is shooting 66% on turnarounds. He is drawing a foul on like 30% of his post-ups. So whether it's from shot making or getting to the line, he's just abusing this combination of overwhelming physical advantages with his size, playing a more physical style, and then this tremendous jump shooting ability that he has. So anytime they can hunt a switch, the smallest dude on the floor, or really any normal-sized wing, KP can destroy. He has brought very valuable floor spacing to this team. He has been an elite rim protector, holding players 15% below their average field goal percentage at the rim. That's the best mark of any dude protecting the number of field goal attempts at the rim that he is in basketball. And then just fits in really nice offensively as a screener as well, popping, rolling, having a tremendously efficient, impactful two-way season. And I think he's the second best Celtic because of that. The Celtics are so great that I'm good with them having 3 All-Stars. As we've talked about, they have like 5 All-Star caliber players, but the buzz always for the sort of non-flashy stats All-Star this year with Boston was Derek White. Yeah. And I get it. Derek White's been awesome, but KP's been better. He hasn't been out there for every single game. I don't care. I think that what he's done in the majority of games in which he has still been out there has just been phenomenal. I do have Jaylen, though, 23, 5, and 4 on 58% true shooting. He's doing his job really well, and I think that what KP does is more valuable because of how he just slides in and because of what he's doing defensively, right? That complimentary stuff is so crazy. There are a decent amount of dudes who, as wings, can give you good volume output on solid efficiency, and that's kind of what Jaylen's doing right now, but overall, I think you're seeing him really unleash these physical advantages. He's a versatile scorer, 47% from mid-range, 35% from 3. Still a plus defender, which is disturbing because I really thought about that and the fact that he's the 5th best defender in the Celtics starting lineup, and I almost vomited. Like, it's just unprecedented that there would be nobody who you can attack defensively in a series. But I think that he has clearly played at that level. When you look at the other guys, right, Jimmy has missed a bunch of games. Paolo, I think, is going to make it. And I love Paolo, but I just think that that's hasty. It's rewarding a team that got off to a really good start, but hasn't been very good as of late. His efficiency is well below league average, 54% true shooting. The Magic have been 9 points per 100 possessions better when he is off the floor than when he's on it. And it feels like we're just rewarding the face of a solid young team who is putting up good raw numbers when really the team success here is all about the defense. They're 24th in offensive rating. They're 4th in defensive rating. And if I were to dish out credit for the Magic's team defense, Paolo would be a small part of that. Yeah. He is certainly not the driving factor in that. So to me, it's just a bit of a misattribution of credit. But then for my last spot, I'm going with Bam. I'm underwhelmed by it. I get that he's having a solid offensive season. He got off to a good start, but then January was rough. The shot making let him down a bit. He was 18 a game on like under 54% true shooting. I think, though, because of the defensive impact, he belongs here. I'm also just kind of turned off of the Heat guys right now because they've been playing such shitty basketball.
I hate when that happens, man.
Yeah, well, of course, you know what I mean, Logan. Let's not get filthy here. But they've lost 7 straight games, dude. So it's just a bit upsetting. We, of course, know that when it comes to a playoff setting, Bam is at least a top 25 guy you want. He's been healthier than Jimmy, and so for that, I'm rewarding him. But you didn't even mention the guy who I probably considered the hardest for that last spot. Spicy P, man. Spicy P's been having a really good year. And, of course, with the Raptors, they weren't winning a ton of games. And with the Pacers, we haven't seen him and Hallie get to go to work yet. But overall in the year, 22, 6.5, and 5 on 62% true shooting. He's been great in isolation and post-up situations and transition. He's been attacking closeouts well off the ball. His teams have been 6 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor. I think he's playing at a really high level. I almost want to take him over Bam, but I don't think that I can because Spicy P also hasn't been his best defensively this year, and Bam is always going to be great there. But I don't think that that's some no-brainer between the two of them. Spicy P just isn't going to get the recognition because, again, of the team success. But he was in Toronto.
And I really do think Halliburton and Siakam are going to create a special pairing once they finally are on the court together. Like, I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. Bam, to me, is still, I put so much respect on Bam's name. He just, I don't know why, I don't know, man. It feels like Bam just always gets kind of, I don't know, overlooked, man.
He does, but it's because he's never going to be the same level of
he's just
regular
not a
season player as he is postseason player, I think.
He's not a sexy player, man. He doesn't have a sexy game. You know what I mean?
He's a good-looking guy.
Well, yeah, sure, he's a handsome fella. He just doesn't have the most, aesthetic, beautiful game.
And he's also always polarizing because I mentioned how he gets more valuable in a playoff setting. That, to me, is because of how he can just wreck things defensively. But he's always going to have those nights offensively where it's like, cool, Bam gave us 8 on 4 of 13 shooting, and he missed 6 floaters and a couple layups. And that stuff turns people off because, what do I always say, Logan? Basketball fans are infatuated with one-on-one scoring skill. For a lot of people, that's like the only thing that matters. And there's a whole lot of ways to impact winning outside of that, but Bam is never going to grade all that highly in, sexy one-on-one scoring.
The Heat are 10 points worse per 100 possessions with Bam on the floor, too. They have an offensive rating of 109.
Offensively. Yeah.
That's what I said, yeah?
You just didn't clarify.
Oh, yeah, offense. They're 7.5 points better defensively with Bam on the floor. They're 10 worse offensively. 109.5 with Bam, 119.5 without him. Yeah, I mean, it's what Bam is, but I respect him so much as a defender. I'll slide him in here.
There's no question he's like a better basketball player when it matters most than Siakam, but I do think in terms of regular season performance, it's pretty damn close. Other than that, you shouted out my honorable mentions, except for Franz Wagner, who I think if we're putting Paolo in these conversations, we can't neglect Franz. Little more efficient, slightly less volume offensively, but as overall players, I think that they're quite similar. Franz is a little bit better defensively. They're both good playmakers, but I don't think that either one of them is quite at the all-star level yet. Next year, call me back. For years in the future, I think they will consistently be there. Okay. How about out west, Logan, where, again, the starters are SGA, Luka, LeBron, KD, Jokic. Who are your locks for the reserves?
My locks are Steph Curry, De'Aaron Fox for the 2 backcourt spots. My wild cards, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker. These are all kind of locks for me. I don't know. I didn't really feel compelled by any of the guys I left off. And then in the front court, Kawhi. And I'm not going to lie, I debated the last 2 front court spots, but they kind of took them convincingly. My last 2, Lauri Markkanen and Anthony Davis.
Wow. Interesting. God, I love Lowry being there. So my locks, I would say, Book, Steph, AD, Kawhi, Ant.
Foxy.
I have Fox on my team. But he was actually the last spot.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. I just think he's having a really good year, but the torrential shooting run that he was on has cooled down a bit. And now we're seeing he's taking the lowest percent of his shots ever at the rim. He's taking his highest percentage of shots from deep. He's just been more reliant on that pull-up shooting, and it's been a good year overall, but there's been a bit of volatility there. And I do have that debate between who was the most valuable regular season player for the Kings. Between him and Sabonis. You have to have it, dude. I mean, Sabonis.
Domas, man.
Okay, I know how you feel about him in the playoffs, but that's not what we're legislating here, Logan. He's going to be crazy efficient. He really runs so much of that offense. He's going to dominate the glass.
He's going to get walled up by KD. He's going to miss shots in the clutch. He's going to have no touch and blow games. Domas is a fraud.
Okay, well, I gave it to Foxy over him. But I do think in terms of regular season impact, it's not as much of a blowout as you would like it to be. Okay, and then, so you've given your whole roster.
Yeah.
My last spot is Paul George. I do not have Lauri Markkanen. So let's kind of go through here. I have Book as a lock over Fox. I actually think that Book's had a better season than Steph. Book would be my third guard in this insanely loaded Western Conference conversation. But 28-7 on 62% true shooting. Career highs in points per game, assists per game, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage. His team is 12 points per 100 possessions better when he is on the floor. They are 24-14 when he plays, 3-6 when he doesn't. shooting 76% in the restricted area, 47% from mid-range, 38% from three. I mean, he's just like mastered the game offensively, and people hate Book, so people don't want to give Book credit. But the shot making is absurd. The playmaking is the best that it's ever been. The impact on winning is pronounced and up there with the absolute best in the league. Top 10 player in the league, certainly playing at that level. Foxy's cooled off. Ant, as good as he is, I think that people will conflate team success with individual dominance. I think Book has pretty clearly been the better basketball player this season than Ant. So let's go to the only spot where we actually disagree then in terms of who's on the roster, because Steph, I think, is obvious. AD, I think, is obvious. Kawhi, I think, is obvious. Ant, I think, at least being on the team is obvious. Why do you have Lowry over PG for that last spot?
I mean, I just think Lowry's playing winning basketball. And his job is a little tougher. And I don't mean that in the sense that, because Lauri's game is so graceful in the sense that I think he could work in a lot of different situations with what he does off balls. You know what I mean? Like, PG's a tougher. You know what I mean? Just like,
sure, yeah.
He's tougher, but
he's Brandon Miller's GOAT for a reason.
Exactly. But, I mean, I think Lauri's impact is really similar. They're 13.5 points per 100 possessions better with Lowry on the floor. They're 12.2 points per 100 possessions better offensively. They have an offensive rating of 121.4 with Lowry on the floor, and I just think it's hard what he does, man. 23.5 points per game, nearly 40% from deep, 49% from the field. He's been stupid efficient.
Yeah.
And he's a good rebounder. He's not a horrible defender.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's just like the Clippers are kind of loaded. They've got Kawhi. They've got Hart. And I know you could make this argument for the Celtics on the other side. Like, oh, why do you have Kristaps and Jaylen Brown? The West is tougher. The West is deeper. Like, I might have Gobert above Paul George. You know what I mean? Like, I would think about that. I probably wouldn't. But yeah, I just think it's different. It's hard for Markin. There's no other stars in Utah, man. It's him going to work every night, and I'm going to reward that. Like, I just think he has been so great at leading winning offensive basketball that I'm going to reward that. I think his situation is a little tougher, and it's leading to them winning games. So I'm going to reward that, man. I think Lowry plays an awesome brand. This one was probably my toughest decision to make out of all these teams. And that bum-ass front court spot in the East. That was tough.
Yeah, East front court left a little bit to be desired. West front court and West overall leaves me wishing that I had about 8 more spots to give out, dude. Man. Like, I'm just going to shout out a bunch of dudes who are on the periphery of this conversation, but I didn't even, give hard consideration to. Alperon Şengün, unbelievable season that he's having. Karl Anthony Towns, I actually did consider, but I would take Lowry over him. I think I would take Sabonis over him too, but 23, 9, and 3 on 64% true shooting for the 1 seed in the West playing career best defense. Like, fuck. Sucks to leave that guy off. Even Zion having a down year. 22, 5.5, and 5 on 62% true shooting. Kyrie has been awesome. Yeah. It's just 27 games played. I can't give it to him. James Harden has done his role so well. It's just the load and the two-way impact isn't enough for him to be the third all-star on a team for me. Then you get into the world of the Desmond Baines, who's an efficient 25-point per game scorer. Triple J, who was Depoy last year and is giving you 20 a night. I tweeted out a whole list of names because I just can't believe that we haven't expanded the all-star rosters, dude.
Wemby, Chet Holmgren. I mean, damn, dude.
It's obscene. Wemby absolutely deserves to be in these conversations. For the last month and a half now, he's clearly been playing at an all-star level. Brandon Ingram. It's unconscionable. J-Dub, Jamal Murray. These are dudes who don't even have a chance. How is that possible? Yeah. You know, when the NBA expanded to 12-man rosters for the All-Star Game, Logan, 1963, there were 9 teams.
We should have 15, man.
Absolutely, we should have 15. If we were keeping pace, Logan, we would have 40. The league has over tripled in size. But anyway, some of the dudes who made it that year, Lee Schaefer, who left the NBA after 3 years because of a contract dispute to pursue a career in trucking. Johnny Green, shout out, Hoop Grid legend, he's come up in some trivia before, was averaging 18 points per game for a 21-win Knicks team. Donald, a solid guy of this era, made 5 All-Star teams, but still putting up 19-4 for a 34-win team. Tom Meschery and Guy Rogers, a couple more of my favorites to bring up. Old-fashioned Warriors, Wilt-era Warriors. But their raw production wasn't all that great on 31-win Warriors team with Wilt Chamberlain. Like, there was a surplus of spots. They were giving it to guys who's like, I guess he's given 15 a game on a team that might make the playoffs. Might as well throw him in there. Now it's like, oh man, Cat, you're having the best year of your career on a great team with this crazy efficiency and really good raw production. Sorry, buddy, we just don't have a spot for you. I don't know. I think it sucks. I think we should have 15. And
yeah.
People will get in here as alternates, but it's still a bummer. Anyways, the reason that I have PG over Lowry, I'm like the world's biggest Lowry fan, dude. I've been preaching his value consistently these last 2 years. And having the Jazz at 500, what he does offensively, the way that he scores, how valuable it is in terms of fitting alongside any cast of players because it is so overwhelmingly away from the ball. Just scrumptious, just delicious stuff. But to me, the edge is probably about two-way impact with PG. I do think that PG is a better player also because he is both excellent away from the ball, right? He is lethal coming off screens. He is having a phenomenal spot-up shooting season. And while Lowry is good on ball and he can abuse mismatches, there's just a different level of shot creation there and fluidity and playmaking from PG, who is producing in terms of raw numbers at a high level, who is scoring efficiently, and that's across play types. Spot up 90th percentile.
For a great team, too, For
a great team. That's another tiebreaker. I think it's the two-way impact. I think it's the on-ball creation. I think it is the fact that he is doing it for a great team.
The playmaking, too. I mean, that's an aspect.
Yeah, I consider that as part of, like, the on-ball creation. That, to me, is the separator. I do just think he's a better basketball player because of some of those difference makers. But I want to have Lowry here so badly, dude. Like, how do you deny a guy who's scoring at this volume with obscene efficiency and is taking a team that has no business sniffing the playoff picture to that level? We need to expand. We need to expand, dude, because this as an exercise is becoming more stressful and painful than it is fun. Being like, yes, one of my favorite players who I've probably said 8 times this year, he's playing at an all-star level. Can't quite make it. Bums me out, but the West is pretty crazy this year, dude. Which for all of, like, the underwhelming team success we talked about, the individual players, they're still studs.
I'm still thinking about how I frindled a word earlier this episode,
that was
man.
Sick, dude. I thought that was dope.
I'm kind of disappointed in myself. I was stuck between quarrel, qualm,
quibble,
squabble,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I came up with quabble, man.
I thought quabble was cool, bro. I don't want you to knock yourself. Any other thoughts on this all-star picture? I mean, we agreed on the entire list except for one spot.
Carson, we have... Wow, it's kind of hard to put into words. We've done this for 4 years now, picking out the all-star teams.
Five.
Yeah,
fifth.
True. This was the hardest one that we've ever done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's
the
true.
most difficult, man. And yes, if we got to be the advocates, 15, 16, whatever the number, I think we have to, man. Like, there's too much talent. There's too many great players. There's too many great teams. And I don't know, and maybe on the other side of this, what do you think? Like, all-star teams mean more now, that they just, should inherently mean more? Like, I don't think expanding the all-star teams demeans, it in any way.
No, not at all, dude. It's all about being proportionate. Like, compared to even what we had in the 80s and 90s, right? Well, in the 80s for sure, when you're talking about there was 24 teams. It's just proportionate expansion. I mean, Logan, the exact ratio, if we want to maintain it, 24 to 30, 12 to 15. That's a 4 to 5 ratio in both cases, okay? And that's not even accounting for the fact the rosters are bigger overall. The league is more stacked with talent per capita than it's ever been. It just makes me upset. But anyways, it's going to be interesting to see who the coaches choose. I predict that actually it's probably going to be exactly what I have, honestly, because I don't think that Lowry is going to get that nod. It'd be cool.
Think
they're going to give respect to a vet like PG.
Do you think they're going to give it to Paolo over JB too, or Paolo over Kristaps?
I think that they're going to give it to Paolo over... That's a good question.
I think they're probably going to give it to Paolo over KP.
I think it's probably going to be KP who gets left out. Silly coaches.
Silly fans.
Silly fans, but this is on the coaches now, so I think that it's going to be Paolo. Yeah.